How to get closer to an avoidant partner without pushing them away. Have you ever felt like the more you try to get close to someone, the further they pull away? If you're with an avoidant partner, you know this dance all too well. You want connection, but every step forward seems to push them into retreat. The good news? There is a way to bridge that gap without scaring them off. Today, I'll share 5 key strategies to create closeness without triggering their defenses. Giving an avoidant partner the space to come to you is one of the most counterintuitive but essential strategies for building closeness. At first glance, it might feel like stepping back will create distance, but in reality, it's the only way to make them feel safe enough to move forward. Avoidants have a deep-seated fear of losing their independence or being smothered. So when they sense someone moving toward them too quickly, their instinct is to retreat. The key is to remove the pressure while staying emotionally present. So they don't feel chased, but they also don't feel abandoned. Start by paying attention to their natural rhythm. Avoidant partners often have a pattern of engagement and withdrawal. They might open up for a moment, then pull back to recharge. Instead of seeing this as rejection, recognize it as their way of regulating. If you try to force more connection during their withdrawal phase, they'll only retreat further. Instead, match their energy. When they step back, give them room without disengaging entirely. Stay warm and available, but don't demand their attention. This signals that you respect their boundaries, which builds trust over time. Another crucial aspect is letting them initiate. Avoidant partners need to feel in control of the pace of the relationship. If every conversation, date, or moment of vulnerability is led by you, they'll start to feel trapped. Instead, create opportunities for them to come to you. For example, instead of always being the one to text first, leave space for them to reach out. If you're used to planning all the dates, try saying, "I'd love to see you, let me know when you're free." This subtle shift removes the pressure of expectation and allows them to participate willingly rather than feeling obligated. It's also important to manage your own reactions when they do pull away. Avoidants are hyper aware of any signs of neediness or frustration, and if they sense you're anxious about their distance, they'll withdraw even more. Instead of asking, "Why are you so distant?" or "Do you even care about me?" which will only make them defensive, keep your tone light and unpressured. If they cancel plans, respond with something like, "No worries, we'll catch up another time." This communicates that you're secure and not emotionally reactive, which makes them feel safer opening up in the future. Finally, focus on building connection in low-pressure ways. Avoidants often struggle with heavy emotional talks or grand romantic gestures because they feel like traps, commitments they can't take back. Instead, create moments of closeness that feel casual and undemanding. Watch a movie side by side without needing to cuddle. Have a fun, light-hearted conversation instead of diving into deep feelings. These small, pressure-free interactions help them associate intimacy with comfort rather than fear. The paradox is that by giving them space, you're actually making room for them to miss you and to realize that closeness doesn't have to mean losing themselves. When an avoidant partner feels free to step away, they're more likely to choose to step closer. It's not about playing games or pretending you don't care. It's about creating an environment where they can lower their defenses at their own pace. And when they do, the connection you build will be stronger because it was their choice, not their obligation. The way you communicate with an avoidant partner can either build bridges or reinforce walls. Avoidance often associate emotional conversations with pressure, the pressure to respond a certain way, to meet expectations, or to confront feelings they may not be ready to face. This is why your approach matters so much. Instead of framing discussions as demands, shape them as invitations. The goal isn't to avoid meaningful connection, but to create an environment where vulnerability feels safe, not suffocating. Start by paying attention to your phrasing. Avoidants instinctively brace themselves when they hear absolutes like, "We need to talk," or "You always do this." These phrases trigger their defenses because they sound like ultimatums or criticisms. Instead, soften your language to make the conversation feel collaborative rather than confrontational. For example, instead of saying, "Why don't you ever open up to me?" try, "I've noticed sharing feelings isn't always easy for you. I get it. Just know I'm here if you ever want to try." This removes the accusation and replaces it with understanding, making them less likely to shut down. Timing is another critical factor. Avoidants need to feel emotionally prepared for deeper discussions. Springing a heavy conversation on them when they're distracted, stressed, or mentally checked out will only lead to resistance. Gauge their mood first. You might say, "Is now an okay time to talk about something, or would later be better?" Giving them agency over when the conversation happens prevents them from feeling ambushed. If they're not ready, respect that, but gently circle back later. The more you honor their readiness, the more they'll trust that you're not trying to force them into a corner. Nonverbal communication also plays a huge role. Avoidants are highly attuned to tone, body language, and even facial expressions. If your words say "no pressure," but your tense posture or anxious energy screams, "I need answers now," they'll pick up on the disconnect. Practice relaxed, open body language, uncrossed arms, calm eye contact, a neutral or warm tone. This signals that you're not here to attack or manipulate, which helps them stay engaged instead of retreating into their shell. Humor and lightness can be powerful tools too. Avoidants often associate emotional talks with heaviness, so injecting a little levity can ease the tension. For example, if you're discussing relationship fears, you might say, "Look, I'm not asking for a PowerPoint presentation on your feelings, just a casual, 'Hey, this thing bothered me' would be awesome." This takes the edge off while still conveying your desire for connection. Finally, celebrate small victories. If an avoidant partner shares even a minor thought or feeling, acknowledge it positively, but don't overdo it. A simple, "Thanks for telling me that. It means a lot," reinforces their willingness to open up without making them feel scrutinized. Over time, these micro moments of vulnerability add up, creating a foundation of trust where deeper conversations become possible. The bottom line, communication with an avoidant partner isn't about dumbing down your needs or walking on eggshells. It's about packaging those needs in a way that feels manageable rather than overwhelming. When they realize that talking to you won't lead to drama, guilt trips, or forced emotional labor, they'll start to let their guard down, one step at a time. When you're with an avoidant partner, you'll often find their actions speak much louder than their words. While they might struggle to say "I love you" or articulate their feelings, they frequently reveal their care through subtle behaviors, making time for you when they're busy, remembering small details you've mentioned, or showing up when it matters. The key is learning to read this silent language of love, rather than waiting for verbal declarations that may never come in the way you expect. Avoidant individuals typically develop their attachment style as a protective mechanism, often growing up in environments where emotional expression wasn't safe or modeled effectively. As adults, they've become masters of showing care through practical actions rather than emotional outpourings. Your partner might not write you love letters, but they'll fix your car when it breaks down. They may not gush about their feelings, but they'll remember your favorite snack and pick it up on their way home. These are their love letters, written in the language of deeds rather than words. The challenge arises when we try to measure the relationship solely through the metrics that feel natural to us. If you're someone who thrives on verbal affirmation, you might misinterpret their actions as cold or distant, when in reality, they're expressing affection in the only way they know how. This is where conscious reframing becomes essential. Start training yourself to look for their unique expressions of care. Did they text to check if you got home safe? That's their version of "I worry about you." Did they give you space when you were upset instead of pushing for details? That's their way of showing respect for your boundaries. It's equally important to acknowledge these actions when you notice them. Avoidants often feel their efforts go unseen or unappreciated, which reinforces their belief that emotional expression is pointless. When you say, I noticed you took care of that thing for me. That really helped. You're validating their form of emotional labor, but keep the praise specific and proportionate. Overly effusive gratitude might make them uncomfortable. A simple, genuine acknowledgement works best. There's also wisdom in matching their communication style at times. If they show care through acts of service, consider reciprocating in kind rather than always defaulting to emotional talk. Making them dinner when they're stressed or handling a chore they dislike can create a sense of mutual understanding that transcends words. This builds connection on their wavelength while gently stretching their capacity for other forms of intimacy. Ultimately, the art lies in balancing appreciation for how they naturally express love with gentle encouragement to grow. You might say, I've noticed you're really thoughtful when it comes to specific action. I'd love to hear what's behind that sometime if you're open to sharing. This honors their current way of connecting while leaving the door open for deeper emotional exchange when they're ready. Remember, with avoidant partners, trust is built in the quiet moments, the consistent showing up, the small gestures, the space between words where real connection lives. Building trust with an avoidant partner isn't about grand romantic gestures or dramatic declarations. It's about becoming as steady and reliable as the sunrise. Avoidant individuals have often developed their attachment style as a defense mechanism against unpredictable caregiving in childhood. Their nervous systems are wired to expect disappointment, so your consistency becomes the antidote to their deepest fears. When you show up the same way day after day, not smothering, but not disappearing either, you slowly rewrite their expectation that closeness inevitably leads to pain. The magic happens in the mundane moments. It's answering when you say you'll answer, following through on small promises, maintaining predictable patterns in how you interact. These might seem insignificant, but to an avoidant partner, they're powerful evidence that you're different from people who've hurt them in the past. Their trust isn't built through intensity, but through the quiet accumulation of proof that you're safe. When they see that your mood doesn't swing wildly from clingy to distant, that you respect their boundaries even when you disagree, and that you don't punish them for needing space, their defenses begin to soften. This requires managing your own emotional reactions skillfully. Avoidants are hypervigilant to signs of volatility or neediness that confirm their fears about relationships. If you respond to their withdrawal with anxiety or anger, it triggers their instinct to create more distance. Instead, practice responding with calm consistency. If they take longer to text back, match their pace without disappearing entirely. If they cancel plans, express understanding while maintaining your own plans. This demonstrates that you're emotionally stable and not dependent on their behavior for your sense of security, perhaps the most attractive quality to someone with avoidant tendencies. Boundaries play a crucial role in this dance. Ironically, the clearer your own boundaries are, the safer an avoidant partner feels. When they see you maintaining your own hobbies, friendships, and sense of self outside the relationship, it reassures them that you won't engulf them emotionally. This is why chasing an avoidant never works. It confirms their fear that relationships consume individuality. But when you show that you're complete with or without them, it paradoxically makes them more likely to lean in. The timeline for this process requires patience. Avoidant attachment developed over years can't be undone in weeks. There will be moments when they test your consistency unconsciously, pulling away to see if you'll panic or being distant to confirm you'll still be there. These aren't manipulations, but deeply ingrained protective behaviors. When you respond with steady presence each time, without resentment or dramatic reactions, you're depositing trust into what they often call an emotional bank account. Over time, these accumulated experiences create a new narrative in their nervous system. Closeness can be safe, and love doesn't have to mean loss of self. The paradox is that this very steadiness, the quality that eventually helps them feel secure, is often what makes them initially pull away harder. Their system registers the unfamiliar safety as a threat because it contradicts their core beliefs about relationships. This is when most people give up, mistaking the resistance for rejection. But if you can maintain your consistency through these tests, You create the conditions where real transformation becomes possible, not through force, but through the quiet power of showing up, day after day, exactly as you are. The most powerful way to draw an avoidant partner closer is to cultivate your own emotional independence. This might sound counterintuitive. After all, shouldn't focusing on them be the way to win their affection? But here's the paradox. Avoidants are subconsciously drawn to partners who don't desperately need them. When they sense you have a fulfilling life outside the relationship, their fear of being engulfed diminishes, creating space for genuine intimacy to grow. Begin by examining your own emotional landscape. Are you depending on this person to validate your worth or soothe your anxieties? Avoidants have radar for emotional neediness. It triggers their instinct to retreat because it feels like pressure. Developing true independence means finding ways to meet your own emotional needs first. This could mean investing in friendships that nourish you, pursuing passions that light you up, or doing inner work to heal your own attachment wounds. When you're not looking to your partner to complete you, they can relax into the relationship without fearing they'll be drained dry. Practice being comfortable with silence and space in the relationship. Avoidants interpret constant contact as neediness, so become someone who's perfectly fine when they take time to themselves. If they cancel plans, have your own fulfilling alternatives ready. When they're slow to text back, resist the urge to double message. This isn't about playing games. It's about demonstrating through actions that you respect their autonomy while maintaining your own. The message this sends, I enjoy you, but I don't require you. That's catnip to an avoidant heart. Cultivate what psychologists call self-soothing skills. When your partner pulls away, can you calm your own anxiety without demanding reassurance? Can you sit with discomfort without making it their problem to solve? This emotional resilience is magnetic to avoidants because it creates a safe, low-pressure dynamic. They start to associate closeness with freedom rather than obligation. Try developing practices like journaling, meditation, or exercise that help you regulate your emotions independently. Interestingly, as you become more emotionally self-sufficient, you'll naturally become more attractive in all your relationships, not just romantic ones. You'll carry yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth isn't tied to any one person's attention. This creates a virtuous cycle. The less you anxiously pursue your avoidant partner, the safer they feel to pursue you. They may start initiating contact more, opening up emotionally, or showing affection in their own way. All because you've created an environment where intimacy feels like a choice rather than a demand. The beautiful irony? In learning to need them less, you create the exact conditions where they can freely choose to be closer. This isn't about pretending not to care. It's about genuinely building a life so rich and fulfilling that your happiness isn't contingent on their behavior. That's when the real magic happens. They're no longer running from your neediness, but being drawn toward your wholeness. And in that space between pursuit and retreat, authentic connection finally has room to breathe. So there you have it, 5 powerful ways to build closeness with an avoidant partner without triggering their fears. Remember, this isn't about changing who they are or suppressing your own needs. It's about creating a relationship where both of you can show up as your authentic selves, where intimacy grows naturally. When you give them space to come to you, communicate without pressure, recognize their unique ways of showing love, build trust through consistency, and cultivate your own emotional independence, something remarkable happens. The walls start to come down, not because you tore them down, but because you made it safe for them to open the door themselves. Love with an avoidant partner isn't about grand gestures or constant reassurance. It's in the quiet moments, the shared glance, the small act of care, the trust that builds one day at a time. And when they do let you in, that's when you realize it was worth every bit of patience. Thank you all so much for listening today. If you take away just one thing from this, let it be this. The right love doesn't require you to shrink or chase. It meets you halfway. Now go out there and create connections that honor both your hearts. You've got this. Before we go, I'd love to hear which tip resonated most with you. Drop a comment or send me a message. And if you found this helpful, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. Until next time, keep loving wisely, not just wildly. See you soon.